Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The manhwa starts off by introducing us to the frontier territory, Kazal. It is a land that is suffering from a severe drought, making everybody go crazy from the lack of water. The well has dried up and all the fields are cracked, so farming is not even an option. It's not just the humans, even the animals are dying from dehydration. Those filled with fear understand that they need to run away before the situation gets worse. But of course it's not that easy, as the Margrave of Kazal considers this to be a grave offense and deploys his soldiers to punish anybody trying to leave by execution. One of the soldiers walks up, slicing a man's throat as all the villagers begin running. A little kid is escaping but manages to trip somehow. The kid turns with eyes full of fear, begging for somebody to save him as the soldier raises his sword into the air. But alas, the kid does not get saved, rather he is executed on the spot. The one who led this charge was the son of Margrave Kazal. He is a powerful magician, said to have the blood of the divine kings flowing through his veins. We see him making an annoyed face, saying that even beasts no favors must be repaid. Asking the citizens if they don't know why they are still alive, it's thanks to their grace, the ones who have divine blood inside of them. And yet they try to run because it hasn't rained in a while, asking how dare they be so impudent. A woman cries while holding onto her child, saying that she's sorry and if they have to execute her, at least let her child live. A soldier tells her to shut up as he stabs her through the back with a spear, almost getting a collat, but instead paints the child with his mother's blood. The mother falls and the kid starts to crawl away from his mother's lifeless corpse. The Margrave's son asks how the soldier can be so thoughtless, saying that they are no fun. The soldier apologizes for his ignorance, asking what they can do to entertain him further, and the Margrave's son smiles. We see them starting to hang the villagers, and it gets even worse, as the villagers need to hold their loved ones up or else they'll die, which is hella dark and twisted. One of the soldiers then call out to the young master. When he turns around, the soldier explains that he's already stabbed the husband, so they'll have to tie a rope around his waist or else he'll bleed out before they do anything else, and they should at least enjoy it while he's alive. A woman cries while holding up her husband, shaking and begging them not to do this, and even runs up to one of the soldiers, doing her best to plead with him. He slaps her in the face, telling her to piss off, and she holds onto her cheek while crying, calling out to her husband, who is hitting the already bust but they keep sucking face. The Margrave's son starts laughing at him, and says it is truly magnificent, as we see the woman holding onto her husband, supporting him while crying. The young master tells her that she's doing a great job, and she should stay there continuing to support him, because without her the wound will open up and he will die. We see her shaking to hold up his body. We hear a man telling the young master to stop treating the blood of the divine king so lightly. When he turns, we see a knight approaching him, and we learn that his name is Sir Zebek. He stands right in front of the young master, and we learn that he is actually his sword instructor. He asks the young master if there is any need to go this far in punishing people, as a noble that has inherited the blood of a divine king should at least have some dignity. The young master says that his dignity will remain intact as long as the word of what happens here does not escape. And that the citizens are all idiots for trying to run away just because it hasn't rained in a bit. He asks Zebek what he will do and if he's going to be the one to spread the word about this. Saying there's no way a holy knight acknowledged by the king's church should shit talk those with divine blood. Zebek says he's simply meant to say that the truth cannot be hidden forever. The young master sighs but is clearly annoyed. The soldier asks if they should just kill him, but the young master asks for a whip instead. He hands it to him, only for the young master to start whipping the girl who is supporting her husband. Zebek looks shocked as he can't do anything but helplessly watch as the woman gets continuously whipped. After a while the young master is gassed out and starts to smile, saying it truly is a sight to behold, as she's still doing her best to support him even though she is being whipped. He then starts to walk away smiling, telling Zebek that he should lighten up as well and that they should enjoy life while they can. Zebek just stares at the corpses, probably feeling hella frustrated. Nighttime falls and we see there's nobody supporting some of the people anymore, as they're all just hanging around. Some of them have passed out due to the dehydration. Yifan tells his lover, who we learn is named Sophia, that she should just run away and that he was wrong. She shakes her head no, tightening her grip on him. She asks him if the Emperor's Herald is really going to come, as we see her holding a coin. She looks out towards the horizon, wondering where they are. After a while, she passes out due to the pain, and we see someone feeding her water to wake her up. She starts coughing, opening her eyes, wondering who it is, only to see none other than Zebek telling her to keep quiet. He asks if she can eat while holding up a spoonful of food. He starts nursing her back to health. We see that he actually used his cape as a makeshift blanket, and stayed guard while she slept. He looks up at the sun, realizing it's about time to go, telling Sophia to wake up. He says that he came here without anyone knowing, so he must leave or else he's going to be punished if they find out. He then starts to make a pained face saying that he's sorry about her fiancé, and there is no need to hold him any longer. We see that he's actually propped him up on a stick, but I don't know if the dude is alive. Sophia's eyes look terrified as she knocks the stick over, surprising Zebek. He watches as she just continues struggling to hold him, asking for his name because she will tell the Herald clan to spare him when they come. The name low-key makes him a bit angry, asking if she means the Slayers of Sanctity, saying they're all soulless heretics, asking if she contracted them. She nods her head yes. Zebek says he doesn't know if they truly exist, but even if they do come here, the young master has 20 well-armed soldiers under his command, and even Zebek, not to mention that Kazal also has blue blood within him. He says surely she's aware of how incredible the divine blood is, specifically the blood of Yigas. Sophia says that even if he's a magician, the Herald clan is capable of killing him because they too are magicians. The reason they are called the Slayers of Sanctity is because they were given that name after they slayed the kings bearing the divine blood. Zebek shakes his head saying that she's clearly not in the right state of mind, but there isn't anybody who would be after being traumatized like this. He introduces himself formally saying that he is Zebek, a holy knight of the king's church. He's not telling her his name to beg the Slayers of Sanctity for his life, but rather just so she can tell them that even if they came, he will fight them with everything that he has. He tells her that he'll be back at night to check on her as he leaves. Her eyes look completely distraught, but she tells herself to keep up for 2 days. As she looks down at the symbol of the Herald clan, she says 2 days is all she needs. Find you a girl like Sophia. It then jumps to a farmhouse, back before the territory suffered from the drought. We hear Yifan telling Sophia that this is a gift, and she asks what it is. She asks if she has heard of the Herald clan. She says yes, explaining that she heard about them from her father, who told her a story when she was younger, and it mentioned that every single one of the members of the Herald clan are soulless. Yifan says that is correct, and the gold coin she is holding onto is the Emperor's gold. It will call those who are soulless to it, but to be careful because she possesses this, the heretical interrogators of the king's church will execute her. He then kisses her on the cheek. She starts to get really embarrassed. Bro had some moves. She asks why he is giving her such a dangerous thing as a gift. He says that it is just in case of severe emergencies, and if something were to happen to them. It is said that if you draw a triangle on the ground and put the gold coin in the middle, that it will call for a herald to come and help you. Although he hopes they never have to even try it, he would like that if she did have it. That is why there was the triangle on the ground that Sophia was looking at, as she tells herself that 2 days is all she has to hold on for, her husband's corpse now starting to attract flies. A whole day goes by, and she still remains determined, saying that 1 more day is all she needs. She looks up at the sun, saying that if she gets through this, it will all be okay, but her vision starts to get disoriented as she falls onto the floor from a lack of water. Sophia died of dehydration, but stayed determined until the end. It then jumps to an outpost as all the soldiers are cleaning themselves from the massacre of the village. Zebek is also there, looking up at the sun, saying it is unusually hot today. Kazal then calls out to him, asking why he is still not smiling, saying that he should be having a great time. Zebek says if they kill the citizens, then they can't collect the taxes. Kazal tells them that those who were dissatisfied have already left, and that there's not going to be much to collect as they are already stealing from one another. Zebek clenches his fist, saying that the Margrave's territory has rich soil, so they can evacuate the people there, and there's no need for them to suffer like this. Kazal says they need to suffer since they are ungrateful, and he only mentions this because they are going to ruin their agriculture and run away like they tried this time. Zebek tries to tell him that the agriculture won't be ruined, as it's based on individual skill, but Kazal barks at him, saying that it depends on the soil, climate, and the king's light. He says that surely he was taught this by the church while laughing. Zebek looks annoyed but doesn't say anything as Kazal gets right into his face, saying that they are suffering this drought in the first place because they were unfaithful towards the king's church. That's also something mentioned in the doctrine, which he should know. Zebek tells him that's a broad interpretation. Kazal tells him that someone made the soil rich, and someone else made the drought calm. They should punish the sinners and those who have tried fleeing and ruin their lands, whereas those who contributed to making the soil rich should be given land. He's doing this in order to save the people. So if he wants to go against his orders and save them, then he should try to give it his best shot. He begins to walk away, and Zebek stands there not saying a word. It then jumps to some slums back in their frontier territory. As even more citizens have died from dehydration, Zebek approaches the hill where he left Sophia, and we see his eyes look very pained because when he looks up, he spots her corpse on the ground, and he clenches his fist out of anger, saying in the end she couldn't endure it, and that it would be useless even if the heralds were to come now because they've already lost most of the villagers. While he's standing in front of her corpse, he starts to feel an ominous presence, then immediately someone appears behind him holding a sword to the back of his head, saying that he'll cut him down here if he moves, telling Zebek not to turn around. Zebek says that if the dude is suddenly swinging his sword around like this, and his aura is that of a ghost, he must be a herald. The man says that he is, asking if he's a knight or a rescuer. Zebek introduces himself, saying that he's from the king's church. The man says that he sees, and he was just asking in case, but surely he's not a contractor. If a holy knight of the king's church was to petition a contract, that would be a pretty interesting sight. Zebek starts to get pissed, asking if he's trying to mock him. The man thinks about the situation, saying that that girl was his contractor, and she's already dead, so he gained a free gold coin, asking what happened here in the first place. Zebek says that if he sheathes his sword and puts distance between them, then he'll put his honor on the line and tell him the truth. The man smiles and nods his head as he uses his ghost-like aura to severely increase the gap between the two of them. Zebek can't believe he moved so far so quickly, wondering if this dude is actually a phantom. The man sheathes his blade, saying it seems like he's confident that he wouldn't have been bodied if he didn't ambush him, but says that's fine with him, and if he's a holy knight from the king's church, then he should at least have some guts. Zebek asks the man if he is a mage, and he says that everybody in the Herald clan is, except for him. Zebek asks if he's really trying to say that that wasn't magic just now, and the man tells him that it must be hard for him to distinguish superhuman physical power from magic. Zebek has no idea what he's saying, asking what his name is, and what his rank is as a herald. The man remains silent, and Zebek says he already told him his name and where he's from. The dude asks if he really did, saying that he didn't hear him, and he says that his name is Azaden of the 108 Spirits, the Emperor's Herald. Zebek says that the 108 Spirits is the lowest rank, but the movement he displayed just now proves that he is far from ordinary. Azaden says as he has promised, he needs to tell him what happened here. Some time goes by, as they're looking over the frontier territory, as he has been told what happened. Azaden says that's one hell of a story. We then hear a different voice saying the contract has been established. Zebek notices something in the air. As he spots a bird flying overhead, it lands on Azaden's shoulder, mentioning how Azaden earned free coins because the requester died. Zebek is surprised that the owl is talking, but the owl continues, saying it's time to start moving to complete the other mission, and that he can't rest, telling him to get going. Azaden clicks his tongue and starts to leave, but Zebek asks him to wait, asking if he's really just going to leave after taking his reward because the requester has died. Azaden asks if he wants the request to be fulfilled, saying he finds that strange, as his master will suffer if he does. Zebek tells him that won't happen, calling him a soulless one. He unsheathes his blade, pointing at him, saying that he will defeat him here. Azaden says it's pretty funny that he tried to stop him with a sword that remained silent before witnessing all this injustice, and even for him, that's pretty sad. Zebek starts to get annoyed, but that turns to being completely pissed. Azaden asks if he's mad at him, or himself because he turned his back after witnessing the atrocities that he did. Zebek asks him what he even knows. Then Azaden asks if he knows the constellations of the night sky, and how they all hold different meaning. Zebek asks why he's bringing this up, wondering what he's playing at. Azaden says that humans may see the same thing, but they feel something different. To some, one may look like the protagonist of a myth, but to others, it might just be nothing more than a faint pale light flickering in the darkness. Just as how the sight of them being ravaged may appear differently to him compared to the eyes of the other soldiers. As he touches Yifan's corpse, Zebek puts his sword down, saying that it's different. It's because he couldn't do anything, and his eyes look full of regret. He looks down at his sword. He then looks down at his reflection, saying as a knight of the king's church, he must revere those who carry the bloodline of the divine king. Azaden tells him that he does not wish to fight him if he felt pity for the girl. Azaden then cuts the ropes off of Yifan, saying that his sword is no enemy of his. Zebek looks like he's having conflicted emotions, as Azaden picks up Sophia's corpse as well, asking if he has a shovel. Zebek asks why he needs one, and if he's really planning to bury these people, saying that is absolutely crazy. Azaden says that he'll hold a funeral for them. Zebek thinks about it, saying that Kazal wants them to stay hung on the trees to serve as a message to stop those from doing the same thing, and that burying these corpses is practically the same as challenging him. Azaden says that if he doesn't have one, then it can't be helped. As he starts using his hands to dig out the ground, Zebek resolves himself, tightening the grip on his blade. He thrusts it down into the ground, and Azaden looks up, seeing him digging with his hands as well, as they are now digging individual graves for Sophia and Yifan. After a bit, they finish, even donning the gravestones with little crosses, as Azaden says a prayer, asking for the Archangel of Wisdom, Courage, and Mercy to please look after their souls. Zebek asks why a man of the Herald clan is using the prayer of the Rescuer's order. Azaden shrugs, saying that he just likes their ideology. Zebek says he sure is a reckless dude to abandon the destiny of his birth clan and serve the faith of heresy. Azaden says if he doesn't uphold what he believes is right, then his birth will have no meaning to begin with. Zebek asks him what he likes about the Rescuer's order. Azaden turns, grabbing something off his waist. As he starts to straighten it out and bending it, we see it's actually a bow that he had as a belt. Azaden says that from that direction, there's an individual approaching, and he thinks it's the one he serves. Zebek turns around worried. It's none other than Kazal and his soldiers. Kazal starts to laugh, asking if he liked that farmer woman that much. Saying he should have told him that. Why his horse so damn big? Kazal says he will admit, she was hella fine for a commoner, but that's about it. Zebek says that he must have known he'd take care of the girl, and that there are around 20 heavily armed soldiers, and even for him, he has no chance of winning here. Kazal then starts smirking, asking who the hell the bastard beside him is as Azaden's drawing his bow. Azaden releases the string, causing the arrow to go flying straight through the back of the soldiers, hitting the guy at the very back line, directly in the eye. The dude starts to scream while shaking as he reaches up, grabbing onto his head. Zebek says for him to land a shot on the soldier standing at the far end and the situation is crazy. Azaden then readies another arrow, releasing it again as it flies straight towards the soldiers. We see them actually put up their shields, this time to block it. One of the soldiers raises his shield up a little bit, only to feel a sharp pain in the groin. As he drops his shield, it cracks on the ground. He starts to fall to his knees, crying. That is one hell of a way to go out. The dude bleeds out almost instantly because the arrow hit his femoral artery. The soldiers all start to feel panicked, and even Zebek says that his arrow actually pierced through the shield and curved like a snake. Azaden says about his question just now, he was asking what he liked about the Rescuer's order. And he likes the idea that a person's worth is determined, not by their birth, but by their beliefs and actions. Just like how someone born with the blood of the divine king, who rapes and massacres his people, cannot be considered a noble. Kazal starts to get hella pissed as Azaden readies his bow at him, saying that he actually can't even be considered a human. Kazal then asks what some lowly commoner would even know, while yelling at the top of his lungs. Azaden has zero reaction to him screaming, as Kazal yells, telling Zebek this is an order to kill that bastard immediately. Azaden jumps off the floor, as Zebek looks up. We see him soaring in the sky with the moonlight behind him. He readies his bow. The soldiers look up in horror, wondering if they're next. As Azaden releases an arrow, hitting one of the dudes in the eye, he immediately straps two more, about to go for a double shot. He does exactly that, as he fires them and starts to fall back down towards the ground. As the soldiers writhe in pain, they run up, anticipating his landing, thrusting their spears forward, only for him to land on their weapons and use them as a footing to get himself back up. He fires 3 arrows at the same time, taking out 3 more of the soldiers, and even sending a stray right by Kazal, grazing his face. Kazal looks terrified, but notices that none of the people he just shot are dead except for that one dude who got shot in the nuts. Kazal realizes that he's just trying to disable all of these soldiers for life. Azaden then unleashes his ghost-like aura, wrapping it around them, using it as cover to fire from within, and he continues to disable the soldiers one after another. He then appears directly behind Kazal, introducing himself, and tells him that he is a herald. Kazal looks terrified as if he just dropped a log in his pants, and the soldiers are also scared because that means he is soulless. Kazal turns after hearing him behind, and when Azaden reaches for his arrows, he realizes he has no more left. Kazal tells him that this is their chance, only for him to get hit straight in the face, targeting his eye, knocking him into the ground. Since he's out of arrows, Azaden starts to take his bow apart, wrapping it back around his waist. Kazal starts screaming about his eye, while laying on the ground. Azaden hops off the horse, only for one of the soldiers to come in from behind. Azaden sidesteps the attack, hitting this dude in the face as well. He reaches for the dude's sword, saying that he used his arrows to thin their numbers out, and if they are brave enough, they should walk forward and fight him. He then tells them that he almost forgot, as he stabs his sword down into one of the soldiers. And we see them all making oh shit faces, because it turns out he just castrated that dude as well. Azaden then turns, looking at the soldiers, who realize that this dude is a psycho. The owl watches the free show that he has given them, and after a bit, the battlefield is now covered in blood, as Heathens makes his way through it, slowly walking forward to Kazal. He says surely he didn't make him wait for too long, and for people like him who constantly inflict pain on others, that this is not nearly enough punishment. Kazal turns, using some kind of magic that releases a bright yellow light, blinding everybody around them. The soldier says that he feels like he's going blind, and we see that his eyes reveal that he has. I don't think it's going to work on Heathens, but Kazal asks if he sees this, and it is proof that his noble blood is incomparable to his. Heathens then swings his blade forward, as we see blood flying. Kazal realizes what has happened, as he looks down, realizing that he too has just been castrated. As blood starts to drip from the bottom of his clothes, he screams out in pain, holding on to his groin, asking him what the hell he has done. We even see him starting to cry. Heathens asks if he's mentally ill, saying, surely he knows what he just did to him, and starts laughing. He then grabs Kazal by the hair. Kazal asks him what the hell he wants from him. He can give him money, women, or pretty much anything he wants, as he's a descendant of the sacred Yigas, holy family. Heathens says unfortunately for him, he is a slayer of sanctity, and surely he understands what a herald is. Kazal looks hella fearful, and screams out to Zebek, who's facepalming. And he asks why he's not helping him, saying that's his duty. Zebek tells him that he can't see. And Kazal screams, telling him that he is a noble, asking if he doesn't remember, or if he's doing this because of what he did to those commoners. Heathens says that come to think of it, he's sure he'll continue living even after this. Kazal wonders what he means as we see Heathens raise his blade, going straight for his only remaining eye. He says that he thinks he's gonna have to look at life a little differently, as he gouges out both of his eyes. Kazal starts screaming in agony before passing out from the pain and falling over. Heathens says that even though he doesn't have a contractor, he thinks he's been more than considerate enough, and that the Emperor's law has been fulfilled. Zebek then starts to pull out his blade, saying that he is a knight of the Church of the King, and he cannot leave him, who speaks of the Emperor's law no matter if he performed a righteous deed or not. Heathens drops his blade, saying that he isn't like the other knights from the Church of the King. Zebek yells, asking if he's insulting him. Heathens says, no, and he was praising him, as the other knights of the Church of the King are nothing more than scoundrels who have been forcefully exiled from their homes due to inheritance. Before Zebek can reply, Heathens continues, asking if he'll even be able to follow after him while laughing. Zebek asks what he means, only for Heathens to disappear with his ghost-like aura, saying they will meet again if fate wills it. Once the aura has settled, Zebek sees no sight of him, only spotting Kazal on the ground. He says nobody was able to kill Heathens the Herald, and they were left with permanent losses instead. He says what he said about the knights was not wrong, and that applies to him as well. He smiles a little, saying that he can feel a weight off his chest, as at least Sophia and Yifan were properly avenged. It then jumps to a whole group of people, bowing for their lord, begging they be exempt from taxes. They tell him that all the people are running away, leaving the village, and those who have stayed are dying of starvation, and return as undead wandering the streets. They are overrun with thieves and monsters, and they cannot even afford to pay the taxes because of these living conditions. The Lord waits for a second, and then calls them shameless as he looks annoyed, and we are introduced to none other than Kazal's father, Margrave Kazal. He says at this rate, surely they would begin asking for food as well. The civilians start to feel fear, realizing that he is right, and the man looks up, begging him, saying that they are at their wits' end right now. Kazal tells him that nothing will change, the lowly blood that flows within them, and if they wish, he will provide relief. They are surprised, asking if he really will, and he smiles, saying of course, on the condition that if they cannot comply with his request, then every single person inside of this room will be hung, asking if they would like to agree. They sit there silent, in shock of what they have heard, staring at one another, and he starts to use some kind of magic on his hand, telling them not to be fearful, as what they all are asking for amounts to nothing more than a single page, as such is the nature of this grimoire he holds. They tell him they are ignorant of magic, and don't know how to sense magic to find it. Kazal laughs, saying even ignorant fools like themselves will be able to find it. If they simply wish for it, the grimoire will respond to their call and reveal itself, and if they manage to bring him a page of the grimoire, then he will exempt the village from taxes for 3 whole years and provide 50 bushels each of wheat, barley, and oats. They are surprised by this, and one of the men says surely they need to at least know the name of the grimoire so they can search for it. Kazal clenches his fist, causing the magic to leave. Staring at them with an omniman-type expression, he says that it's a copy of the Book of the Divine King. The citizens are surprised, and after a bit they leave, as we see Kazal sitting upon his throne. A snake slithers out from behind the curtains, and rises up beside him, and when he glances down at it, we see it transform into an absolute baddie who says that she feels that mentioning the name of the book was rather careless. He tells her that's nonsense, saying that he knows that her and her group are all searching for the grimoire, and rumors will spread all across the continent either way, so it would be wise to use the poor to find a page for them. He asks her what she really wants from revealing herself, and she says that she came here to tell him the truth, and that his son has fallen victim. Before she can finish, he says that Kazal's forces wouldn't fall so easily, as Zebek is with them as well. She then informs him that the opponent was actually a member of the Herald clan. His eyes light up, asking if she's certain, and she says that she's very sure that they are after the book of the Divine King, because if they wish to be free of the curse of their duty then they will need the book as well. He asks her if his son is dead, and she says that he's alive but he's lost sight in both of his eyes, and his nuts have been cut off as well. Kazal looks annoyed, and she asks him what he's going to do. He tells her to send soldiers to their vicinity and kill the herald that was sent. She says she understands, and she'll make contact with the commander. He grabs onto her hand, saying that she should get someone else to do it, and if his kid has been castrated he can just make another. As he pulls her into his lap, she starts to smile, and this might get a little too freaky to show for the rest of the video. Just kidding, calm down, we didn't get to see it anyways, as it jumped to somewhere else in the territory as Heathens shows he has no water. He sighs, saying this is bad, and at this rate he's going to die of thirst. He asks the owl why he had to put on a show, saying he'd make it in 2 days, calling him foolish. The owl asks if he dares speak so impertinently to the emperor's mouth. Heathens stares at the owl like he's confused, and then explains in a whole wall of text how the heralds came to be, saying that it's because the emperor died without any plans, which cursed all of them. He continues just hitting this owl with facts and logic, asking the owl why he had to put on a show, saying making him drop everything he was doing to run here as fast as he could. Thanks to that, he might actually die of thirst. While he has food, he doesn't even think he'll be able to digest it because it's so dry. The owl apologizes, saying that his servant will soon be here. The owl notices something and wonders what's going on. As Heathens reaches for his blade, he wonders if it's a ghost, as he sees a group forming in front of him. It's none other than Saif and everyone else who got hung from the trees, and they bow respectfully to him. He greets them, telling them that this land has neither the light of the king's virtue, nor the blessing of the archangels, so it's not good to stay here for long, and that he's repaid their grudges so they should just move on to the afterlife. Sophia then points behind him, and when he turns he sees a well. He asks if they were trying to give him water, saying they didn't have to, and they could just go rest. Then he looks inside of the well and starts pulling the bucket up, saying he can't wait to drink some water. But as soon as he gets up to the top, he's surprised, asking what this is, as he sees a page in some sand. If you've watched till the end, comment Soulless to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.